Excited to be back with these market wrap-ups. If you're new here, we go through crypto, we go through FX, we go through the stock market. We try to figure out what I think could potentially happen going into next week and try to get some ideas to trade as well. So first time seeing this, thank you very much. Come and subscribe and all of that type of stuff. So also, go over to statsedtrading.com. I have a completely free trading course there. I also have a course where I will teach you to build your own trading plan, which I think is the difference between winning and losing in most respects. You can check that out as well, and you can sign up for the email list. Make sure you're getting the email list because I'm launching some things soon, and they will go to email subscribers first. So without further ado, let's just get into it. And actually, let's start here with Bitcoin, because it wouldn't be one of these if we didn't start with Bitcoin and what it's doing here. Really, so I've been gone for 2 weeks now, and not a lot's occurred. It's still fighting this area right here, and it's still fighting this top. So you can see the top that it put in way back in the day. It's still fighting there right now. Now, something that was interesting, let me see if I can find this. I was looking at the commitment of traders report. Now, long story short, this is just telling you where everyone is positioned. So, who's buying, who's selling, all of that. And on the very top, you had, let me zoom this out, this blue line is the small speculators. So the little guys out there, the guys who are least informed about everything, they got as long as they were almost way back in the last spike, right here, just before it started to fall a little bit. So if we go into the daily chart, again, it's just dealing with this kind of zone right here. And then the 30-minute chart is kind of chopping around. So we're just fighting inside this area. So for me, this zone here is kind of a no-go. If we break last week's low, I actually have some orders out to get me short. If we break this low right here, which is kind of a stop over this high, just to see if we get a little bit of a flush down and into, I don't know, maybe this zone that we were in before or something like that. Not, expecting another crypto bear market or anything crazy, but if we do reject these highs pretty strongly, then again, it's just something I think I could take a little bit of a shot off of. If we take a look at Ethereum, I've been talking about this for a while, but Ethereum relatively weak. It never got to new all-time highs. Same with a lot of these like ADA, XMR, Doge. Never got out anywhere near these all-time highs. So Bitcoin remains king. If you are going to be long a crypto, for me, I always like to go to relative strength. So that would be pretty much the name that I would take a look at there. Now we're going to go to, move myself here a little bit there. All right, now let's start looking through. I got to get my notes. Here we are. Gold and silver. So we're starting here on the weekly chart just because it's an end of the week wrap up. But we'll take a look at the dailies on this as well. So I hope you guys have your coffee. It's going to be a bit. I'm catching up on, again, a couple weeks of price action, which actually leads me to a little bit of a tip. If you are doing something like I did, where you're just taking a couple weeks completely off from the market, don't trade. I was mostly in cash the entire time I was gone. I'm getting my feet wet now. I'm going to spend the weekend going through charts. Give yourself a couple minutes to get your sea legs back before you get into it. So next week is when I'll start really entering orders and positions there. So gold had a little bit of a pullback, but still relatively strong. Last week closed inside of this week, which closed inside of this week. So really, if we look at gold, we're still just kind of within this range right here, and nothing super interesting is happening. It's what you would expect. We had this massive breakout that over at Stats Edge, we're very lucky to be a part of. This was a really great trade, and now we're consolidating here. So the question is, are we going to just consolidate for a while and pop back up? If we go into the daily chart, it's same kind of thing, right? We had one bad rejection day. This stopped me out of the rest of my gold position, and now it's just kind of chopping sideways. So I'm just looking to see if a pattern sets up in this zone to get involved. Silver, relatively weak. So we're talking, silver is to gold what Ethereum is to Bitcoin, kind of. Never broke through the space. We never got through this area right here. So the fact that we can't get going on this makes me think that if I wanted to short one of these precious metals, This would be silver right here, would be the one that I would short just because it's struggling in this area. Now let's take a look at the DXY. This is the dollar index. For anyone, again, if there are new people here, take a look at this every week. This is just the dollar versus a basket of currencies, a lot of euro, but then a bunch of other currencies as well. And you can see with the dollar index, we still are range bound, and we are actually flat on the week. We didn't do much in the way of last week, very, very choppy. So these are the times where for my Forex trading, which I do a lot of, it's scalp mode. You know, it's take a trade and then get out, take a trade and get out. If we're going to reject off this level and push lower on the dollar, that's going to generally be bullish for stocks, although I haven't seen that correlation happen as much now as it did in the past. One interesting currency I'm watching, this is euro pound, so the euro versus the pound. A big rejection here on this potential breakout and push lower, so the euro pound is something that I'm going to keep an eye on. Bearish for the next couple days just to see if it gets a little bit of a breakdown here. This currency doesn't move very much, but on shorter time frames, I find it's a pretty good scalper. Same with euro franc. So the Swiss franc is, if you look at the commitment of traders report for the Swiss franc, it's one of those just like Bitcoin, where everybody is in the world. Yeah, the boat is completely loaded to the short side here on the Swiss franc. So that makes me think that we are going to potentially get a revision here. So that's one thing that I'm watching. We can go to that right now. So this would be the inverse of this chart. You know, I thought we would stop maybe at the anchored view app. We putted around there for a bit, and then we shot right through. Now I'm just dealing with the horizontal resistance, which is, if I just draw these out, right in this area. And it's one of those everybody, what I'm looking at with the commitment traders report is that if, you know, everybody in the world seems to be betting that this chart is going to go higher after it's extended and at resistance, then what I like to do is zoom into a shorter time frame and see if I can take some trades from the other side. So for short time frame for me for FX is either the daily or the 4-hour chart, just to see if I can get a little bit of some trades going on in there. Could not be a chat about currencies without talking about the yen. Just absolutely exploding. Let's go to the weekly chart. You know, just new high after new high after new high. So this is another one that is crowded, right? If we take a look at, where is this? The yen. Right? Everybody is short the yen right here as it's breaking through this area. But, you know, I'm not just going to fight this trend right here. I don't have any support or resistance to play off of. If we look at the daily chart, had this monster run. Now, even the Bank of Japan has come out and said at some point we need to defend our currency because it's just tanking to near zero. But the market doesn't seem to care at all. The market's not caring what's happening here with the yen or what the Bank of Japan says, and that's just something that I need to keep in mind as well, right? I'm not gonna bet with the bank versus the traders because the traders seem to be winning, and that's kind of the crux of technical analysis. If we wake up on Monday and the Bank of Japan has intervened in some way, they started to buy their currency back or something, then I will be shorting. I'll be looking in the shorter time frames just to see some sort of trend change. I'm not going to short all-time highs aggressively. Maybe you take a nibble in there, but you want to see a bit of a trend change before you're interested in trading that. Now let's take a look at stocks. Let's go into the stock market. My voice is, I apologize, I'm not used to. I'm a little out of touch, out of practice doing these. Okay, so the S&P 500, let's start with the weekly chart here. 3 weeks down in a row, big week down last week, and then a massive bounce this week right here. If we take this anchored view app and we draw that in, this is the anchored view app from the breakout area. From this little pullback we had before the breakout, seems to be acting as a major support zone right here. We'll see. This is kind of a line in the sand now that I think the bulls have drawn, which makes my life very easy when it comes to as a technical analyst. I want to start to kind of be buying stocks and looking for bullish trades as long as we're above this line. I'm going to give the bulls kind of the benefit of the doubt that they have a line here in the sand that they've drawn, and that this is the battle that they're fighting. If they lose this and this ends up breaking, then it's time to go to cash and wait for my next opportunity. Taking an anchored VWAP from all-time highs, that is interesting that it's right overhead. So I wouldn't be shocked to see, a bit of a pullback earlier in the week and then see if we can kind of come back up and reclaim this anchored VWAP. Yeah, we could, again, anything can happen. I always like to preface that because that's how real traders think. But if I were to bet, maybe we get a little bit of pullback or sideways chop earlier in the week and then maybe try to retake that anchored VWAP. That's kind of what I'm expecting. And I'll show you some of the trades that I'm going to be looking at to do that as well. If we look at the IWM is the small caps, and we're holding this support right here, but relatively weak on the small cap index. If we zoom way out, you can see nowhere near all-time highs. I don't read much into this, and the reason for that is just that these are the weaker guys, right? They're just by definition. I think JC always talks about how in the IWM, you just kick out your strongest people. As soon as you become a great company and you're worth a lot of money, they kick that out. So this chart I have actually over here, the pink line is the S&P 500, and then this blue line is whatever I'm looking at right here. So it's updating as I'm switching through, and you can see the relative strength and weaknesses on display right there as well. Just keep looking down like that. That's my note. Oh, MSOS. MSOS is interesting. This one's been a pretty wild one for the year so far, right? Obviously still down significantly. If you saw my video on stage analysis, great. If not, go back on the channel. It's a couple videos back. Take a look at stage analysis there. This looks to me like it could be a stage 1 accumulation on the marijuana stocks. Again, it doesn't mean it's going to go all the way back to $50. I think that mania is over, but could be some good trading here. And we have this nice down wedge after this fundamental, like this looks like a fundamental pop. And then we have this wedge right here where we're pulling back. So if this can push higher, I like the look of that security right there, which, again, that's exactly what I want to see. So MSOS goes on the watch list. There's a couple ways to play this. You can pick your favorite weed stock. There's MSOX, I think it is. Yeah, and that's the 2 times to this one here as well. So if you think there's going to be a move quickly on this one, you can take that and get 2 times the leverage there. China, I talked about this on Trader TV on Friday. I'm back hanging out with them. As the market's been killing it or getting killed, you can see this pullback in the market right here. China's been doing phenomenally. So it looks like this low here may hold. I'm going to be looking on to see if I can find some setups in the Chinese market with some ADRs, Baba, JD.com, that type of thing. If I can see a little bit of a setup, I'm going to take that because I think we may be bottoming or have had a little bit of bottom in the China stocks. SMH, I wanted to talk about this just because everyone got SMH. Everyone got very, very excited that we had this little bounce. But just like the SPY, I want to be a little bit cautious. So the anchored VWAP from all-time high is right there. And we have the breakdown point here as well. So there's a couple points here on SMH that to me makes me think that we could be into some resistance here. So we need to see what happens at this zone. If this just reverses, then that would spell bad maybe for the market, but SMH has been kind of dramatically underperforming the market, which means we're rotating into different sectors, which obviously is a good thing for us active traders. Last but not least, TAN. This is a revision kind of play or support play. TAN has obviously been incredibly beaten up, but it seems to be holding these lows. So I'm going to keep an eye on it just to see if this is a bear trap, I think is the easiest way to put it, where maybe you have a push down that breaks these prior lows, it flushes out a whole bunch of shorts, and then starts to reclaim this on solar. If that is what's occurring, then I think there may be a trade to be taken here, just to fade the other side of this kind of move that we're seeing here in solar. If that's going to be it, then again, the downside of trades like this is that they're is you're fighting the trend, and fighting the trend to me is more stressful and has a lower probability of actually working. The benefit is the risk reward is super, super, super tight, right? If my theory is that we are going to just rally from here because we kind of faked out some shorts from these zones right here, A, I should see that pretty quickly, and B, if we break the low of that base right down here, then I know I'm wrong and it's time to get out. So that's the benefit of these trades, is that, again, you know quickly if you're right or not. Okay, so I have been doing a bunch of back testing. And this is going to be kind of the segment where in the future, this will be a different videos for paying subscribers, and they will get access to this on the watch list as well. But for now, and while I work out the details and everything, this is going to be a just part of the video as well, where I go through some of the back tests that I've run and some of the strategies that I've been building, and then kind of show you guys what it is that that I've been seeing in the markets, or that these trades are the trades that are being output from these algorithms, right? So I won't be sharing the algorithms themselves. I'll give you the general idea behind them, but the output of them. So this first one we're going to take a look at. This is a simple weekly breakout system. And this is something that I've been paper trading for a long time and have started real trading a while ago. And it's been working phenomenally, especially in this market. That's going to be part of my job, is to try to figure out which strategies are going to work best in which market. And the idea here is the back test is just looking for weekly breakouts and buying on Monday morning, holding for roughly a month with a stop loss. But for me, that's the framework of the back test. And then I want to look at each security using technical analysis in my own eyes. That's how I use back test personally, is I know that there's a good statistical chance that just buying these things on Monday will, well, produce this equity curve going back to, I think, 1980. Right, so 40 years of data showing that over time this works. But for me, on something like Dave, which is one of them that came through, and you can see the nice weekly breakout, if we go into the daily chart, I'm going to do a little bit more of a look on the daily chart, and then maybe on the 30-minute chart, and try to fine-tune entries and exits. You can see this really tight day that we had here on Friday. If we start to break that, I'm going to look to see if I can buy in through there. Hopefully then we break this wide range crazy day and start to trend up from there. And then I won't be exiting just because a time stop told me to. I'll be exiting based off what I see on the chart. So I hope that makes sense. This one is interesting, but I did have an actual comment. I read all of my comments on the YouTube videos, so check them out. Greek, Grek, breaking out here. So this is actually just the Greece ETF. So Greece in and of itself seems like it might be a good little trade here. A long way to go to all-time highs, but breaking out into clear highs here for Greek. LRN. So LRN, or Stride Inc. New all-time highs. Is that, I have this little picture-in-picture chart. Yeah, up 300% here. So new all-time highs on LRN, and a nice solid break on the weekly candle, going down to the daily candle. A little bit of a mess here, so I think I'd probably want to see a pullback, maybe into $40 or so, and see if that holds before I get involved here on Stride. I told you there'd be a lot of charts. And BBK, this is a bank, Bancorp, so seems to be doing well considering everything that's happening out there with banks. A nice little push through $14, which is this resistance area right here this week. Looking in on the daily chart, again, a nice strong push. I'm going to try to see what happens earlier in the week, see if I can get a base or some sort of chop or a pullback that gets held at these levels right here. Again, this one, there's not a lot of data because this is all the data that exists. But if we start to break through new highs, this one could get interesting. And TRIN, trying to break out here. Trinity Capital, breaking out through this prior high right here. And you could call this kind of a a large triangle. Again, these weekly breakouts, these are for more long-term holds. So me personally, I'm going to be zooming into daily charts to try to fine tune my entry, but these are for, holding for a month or maybe two, or more if it just keeps going, right? But if I don't see, if I buy this, for example, and then over the next few weeks it starts to pull back, then I just move on to something else. Now, something that's a little bit more of the quick hit is another algorithm that I'm running that's looking for anchored VWAP pullbacks. And let's zoom out. What it's doing is it's looking for major swing low points, and it's looking for a series of other indicators put together, and again, showing a nice back test of consistent positive results. CWST right off the bat, this one has been selling off pretty dramatically. Put in a wide range day and a crazy bottoming tail, tagged that anchored VWAP and then bounce, showing that there could be some buyers in there. These I'll be watching more on, say a 30-minute chart, and zooming out and looking for support and resistance levels to play off of, just to fine tune that entry a little bit. So CWST, ENTA, which is a pharmaceutical company, which this anchored VWAP from the major low, you can see it's come all the way in there. This is a very narrow range candle as well. So for me, I'll probably just buy if we can get a push above this area right here, and then stop maybe below $12 on a closing basis. PFG. Another financial. A lot of financials are showing up in the scans, which are interesting. Came in, tagged that anchored VWAP from this major swing low pretty much perfectly, and then started to bounce. I like this candle because it undercut a lot of potential support right here, but rallied really, really hard. So in that area, I'm looking for, just to see if we can get on a lower time frame chart, some sort of break here to see if we can get through this zone. And last but not least, RYAN. And RYAN is, oh, no, it was a further, oh, it's all the way. It's this big guy, this anchored VWAP back here. Maybe. I can't remember. But anyway, it has tagged a major, let's actually just do this. Where is RYAN? Oh, right there. So this anchored VWAP right in this area. You can see it's come down, it's tagged that, it's bounced there perfectly. So this will be another one where if we can retake, call it 49.50, I'm interested in that one. And then again, I'm just going to put my stop like maybe 1 ATR below these anchored VWAPs, and then get out on a closing basis if I don't like the look of them. So again, that segment eventually will be a video on its own, probably a little longer and more detailed, as well as just the output of every single symbol that comes through these algorithms and how the algorithm is planning on trading them will be part of the Substack. So make sure you go sign up for that. Again, it will be turned on at some point. We have a new baby in the house, so as soon as I get around to hammering out all the details there. So I hope people are interested in that. Give me feedback on if that's something that's interesting to you, what you may want added to the product, potential, what you think it's worth to you, that kind of stuff would be greatly appreciated for those in the comment section below. So how long are we going here? 23 minutes. Okay. So thank you, everyone who's made it this long. Thank you very much. It's a long one because I had so many charts that I wanted to show you guys because I've been gone for so long. We are now back, so there should be weekly videos, potentially something on Wednesdays that's kind of educational, and then the end of the week videos like this. And then throughout the week, I'm going to start doing more of those shorts of just like individual symbols or things that I see on the market. All of that, the easiest way to make sure you get all of it is make sure you're signed up for my Substack, and you can do that over at statsedgetrading.com. Again, thanks everyone for watching, and get away from the screens.